Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good Shabbos. It's so good to be back here in our sanctuary at Temple Kolami in West Bloomfield. I'm Rabbi Brent Gutmann here with you. So glad that you've joined us in person. So glad that all of you who are online have joined us on Facebook and YouTube. We're here to welcome every Shabbat at the end of our week to bring in a little bit of sacredness and specialness and holiness to our lives, to remind ourselves of our goodness and our commitment to making our world a better place. And we elevate ourselves with blessings as we welcome Shabbat over the candles and the wine. I get to welcome my family, the Gutmann girls, to come on up and help us with our blessings. No fighting over the candles.
Sorry, listen to it. No, I'm gonna get it.
Page 2, we rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And we uncover the glass of wine. It's wine, I think. Careful with that, girls. Page 5, the blessing for Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Enough. You may be seated. We greet each other. We say Shalom Aleichem. We say welcome to one another and wish each other peace. And tonight, for this prayer, we use the melody of Debbie Friedman. It's a very special melody. Debbie Friedman being one of the foremost composers of Jewish music of the last century. Zichrona Livracha, may her memory be for a blessing, that this was the very last melody that she composed. Shalom Aleichem, a blessing that we use to welcome each other, to welcome in Shabbat every week, a blessing that she changed slightly. She gave her own chidush, a little bit of newness to it, by changing the last verse from Tzeitchem l'shalom, these angels, may they depart in peace. Teshuvchem l'shalom, let them return in peace. Let them come back to be with us again next week. And so we have this melody. We continue. Shalom Aleichem, page 24 in our prayer books. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem l'shalom Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Shalom Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shuvchem, Shuvchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We welcome the Sabbath bride, Lecha Dodi, page 20 in our prayer books. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, tishnianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lefu v'nelcha, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, lechanuni likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, verse 5. Hitoreri, kiva ore kuri uri, shidaveri, kivod Adonai alaich nigla. Lechadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, lechadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. We rise and face the door to welcome those Sabbath angels. Bohi shalom materet bala, gam besimcha uv'tzola, tochem lunei am segula, bohi chala, v'chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, lechadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. We live our lives in the rhythms of the calendar. We live our lives. Now is school season coming, and so everyone is back to studying, and we watch as the seasons change, and maybe some colors, some bursts of light in the leaves. And the rabbis encouraged us to be attuned to the world around us, that we're actually part of and connected and one with our world. And so we acknowledge the beauty, the wonder around us, the rain that came really hard on Wednesday night this week, and the thunder and the lightning. That's how they envisioned God's creation coming through. Those breakers that are on the sea, mikolot mayim rabim, the voices of the great waters. We continue page 23 in our prayer books, midway down in the Hebrew, mikolot mayim rabim. Mikolot mayim rabim, adir mishpereyam, mikolot mayim rabim, adirim mishpereyam. Adir b'marom Adonai, Adir b'marom Adonai, Adir b'marom Adonai, Adir b'marom Adonai, Mikolot Page 26, we rise, the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkada, the Yitkada Shemei Rabbah, Be'amad Yivrach Yirtei Be'amlich Malchutei, בחייכון וביומכון, וכיידכו בית ישראל, בגאלה, בגאלה, ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולא מהמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעלמין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. Together with our prayer for creation, the top of page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch ata Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael. Otanu lemadeta, Alken Adonai Eloheinu b'shofenu, ukumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei toratecha, u'v'mitzvotecha le'olam ba'ed, ki hem chayenu, be'orech yameinu, uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla, ve'avatcha al tasi, Mimenu leolamim, Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malechuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shitecha v'vetecha, uv'lechtecha v'aderech, uv'shofbecha uv'kumecha, uv'shartam leot ayadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uv'chtavtam, amizuzot beitecha, Uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue to gather the bottom of page 38, our prayer for redemption. All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior who delivers us from oppressor's hand and saves us from tyrant's fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You performed miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot, osef elem. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? When Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. together at the top of page 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue with our prayer for evening, the Hashkivenu, page 42 in your prayer books. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch ata Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. This is a day for all of Bnei Israel to enjoy and celebrate, and that is our intention as we sing the words of the Shamru, the top of page 44. Vishamru Bnei Israel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru Bnei Israel et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein Bnei Yisrael Oti leolam. Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We are about to enter into the Amidah. We'll pray together pages 46 through 52 in our prayer books, and then complete the Amidah however we choose, using the words of our books, using the words of our heart, whatever you prefer. And when you are ready, you may have a seat and continue with some quiet meditation. For now, though, we rise. We are on page 46. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Gula Libnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiva Ruach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Sohomech Noflim Verofeh Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Lemit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nemanat Hachayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Atah Kadosh Shimcha Kadosh, Kudashim B'chol Yom Yehalelucha Selah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. ratzon im refi veyom libi lefanecha Adonai Tzuri Vegoali Adonai Tzuri Vegoali May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. Yehiyu leratzon im refi vehegyon libi lefanecha Adonai Tzuri Adonai Suri Begoali. As we find in our hearts that resolve and hope and prayer for the future, we hope that our prayers are heard and answered and that they bring about changes that help to make our world more peaceful and full and loving, and especially in this moment as we prepare to recite a prayer for healing, our Misha Berach Lecholim, we're thinking about our world and all those that we walk the path of life with, all those who we are aware are in need of healing, whether it be physical or spiritual healing. We open up our hearts to hearing and feeling their presence with us now as we extend our prayer. And if there's anyone that you would like to mention, allow that we together can acknowledge them for healing. We create one great prayer in the hope that our prayer can bring that healing that is so much needed to our world. Donna?
Deb Ford
For Deb Ford
and Stuart
and Stuart Trosh.
Barbara Hoffman.
For Barbara Hoffman. For Aunt Pam.
Joe, Shelley, Fran, and
Joe, Shelley, Fran,
Aaron.
and Aaron. I'll add David and Ellen and Lauren to that as well. For all those mentioned, and the many more that go unmentioned, we pray Refuah Shlema, full and complete healing. Page 253 in our prayer books, the Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Isheverach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless the with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, I want to talk about peace a bit tonight, shalom. It's a subject that is all throughout our liturgy, through our prayers. We talk about peace literally all the time, all the time. Talk about peace in the morning when we wake up and when we go to sleep. We talk about peace as we ask God to create peace for us on earth. We yearn for peace as we look to engage and resolve all of the challenges and conflicts in our world. And yet there are moments when we find ourselves so frustrated, so many obstacles in our way, so many times that our intentions to create peace are possibly misinterpreted. And maybe the response we get from our actions are something that is unanticipated and might be alarming to us. And yet, peace is such a strong value in our tradition that we're not to give up on it, that we continue to hope and pray and prepare our world to make our world better, to try to heal it. We talk about tikkun olam, repairing our world to create that sense of shalem, of completeness, of peace. And this week, as we enter into Parshat Vayera in our Torah portion, we encounter a moment that perhaps typifies for us how much we need to exert ourselves in our effort to try to make peace in our world, because this week we encounter Abraham. Abraham, very different from any of those who came before him. Abraham, who's willing to argue and engage, and at a moment when God is prepared literally once again to wipe out an entire region, 2 cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, he asked the question, should I not reveal to Abraham, knowing what I have intended for him, that he is going to give rise to this great nation, in fact, to many great nations, is it not incumbent upon me to share with him what I'm about to do? And so God decides he's going to share with Abraham that there is this intention to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. The inhabitants there have practiced wickedness. They have not observed laws of goodness. They haven't gone to try to make peace in their own cities, in their own homes, and so God has decided that they need to be destroyed. And he tells Abraham, and Abraham hears this, and he's outraged. Is it not expected that the judge of all the earth will not destroy the righteous along with the wicked? He poses a question to God, challenging God's very intention of carrying out this sentence of judgment against Sodom and Gomorrah. He's the first one to do so. Noah is told that the whole world is going to be destroyed with a flood. He says nothing. He goes, he gathers his family, he gathers the animals, he builds an ark, but he says nothing in argument with God. Not so Abraham. What does Abraham do? He argues. And God agrees and says, well, if I can find just 50 righteous individuals, it will be enough. We will spare the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. They will continue to live. But Abraham's not done. He comes back again. He asks God a second time and says, what if there's 40 that we can find? Will you really destroy these cities when there's 40 righteous people among them? And God indeed says, no, I will not destroy them for the sake of 40. And they go back and forth 6 times Abraham comes back to God and says, what about for 30? What about for 25? What about for 20? What about for 10? 6 times Abraham goes back to ask God for more leniency. And so too, here is our example that as we think about peace, as we throw up our hands for peace on occasion, as we feel so frustrated, we're to be like Abraham. We're to continue to argue, to continue to engage. And yet there's a sad reality here, because at the end of the story, what happens to the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah? Do you know the conclusion? What happens to them? They're destroyed anyway. They're destroyed anyway. What kind of lesson is that? Is this the merit of Torah, this the merit of righteousness of Abraham's actions, that after all this effort, after coming back to God over and over and over and over again, 6 times, that still these cities are going to be destroyed? It's a tough lesson to learn, actually. It's a tough thing to think about, that for all of the effort that we continue to exert and the effort that we put into building our world and creating peace, trying to solve our challenges interpersonally, in our relationships, in our families, in our workplaces, in our schools, among our friends, that sometimes, no matter how hard we try, we may not actually be able to succeed. We may not actually be able to preserve that relationship that once was so important, or to keep that friendship with that person who we once were so close with and spent so much time with. And yet the lesson here, we have to try. We don't ultimately know. And so I think that tonight, as we encounter Abraham, we encounter him in this moment of righteousness, in this moment of arguing and realizing that sometimes we're not even enough, but we can be encouraged and inspired to go and be pursuers of peace, rodfei shalom, that in doing so, eventually we'll land on the right answer and be able to bring peace to our world. And that is the prayer and the hope of the concluding section of our service. We continue with the Aleinu prayer, Aleinu, which speaks of a time when all people will join as one and acknowledge what is right and good and fair and decent in our world. And so we rise. It's incumbent upon us to acknowledge, to praise, to be engaged with our world. Aleinu l'shabeach, page 282. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגהור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומשה ויקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. We continue together at the top of page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nema v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to all of those individuals who have played important and meaningful roles in our life and sadly are no longer with us in life. We think of them now, members of our families, friends, those who have walked the halls of this congregation and are no longer with us. This Shabbat, I apologize, I am without list, and so I ask you, if you have names that you are considering for Kaddish, please feel free to add them at this time. Then we'll rise in support and solidarity of our community, of all those that we think of in our hearts and all those that are remembered by our congregation and members of our congregations. We join together in the words of Kaddish Tome, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam ulomei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit ale, v'yit halal, shemei de kudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'asei shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol Yoshei Tevel v'imru amen. May God bring peace to all who mourn among Israel, all who are mourned for among those that dwell on earth, as we say, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Veimeru. Amen. You may be seated as we welcome our officer, Sharon Spilkin, to share some announcements with us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us this evening. On Friday, October 29th, our service will be at 6 p.m. and on Saturday, October 30th, our service will be at 11 a.m. Calling all teens in grades 8 through 12. Join us on Saturday, November 6th from 4:30 to 8 when we will meet at the Escape Room in Novi. Cost is $30 and includes the escape room, dinner, and ice cream at Cold Stone. Test your skills and trust your friends to see if you can escape. Respond by November 3rd to Daniel in the office. Do you enjoy stargazing? Come to Astronomy Havdalah at TKA. On Saturday, November 6th, we will have a short Havdalah at 6:30, and then at 7 p.m. we'll have a space discussion with our meteorologist and member, Paul Gross. We'll use telescopes to gaze into our solar system. Snacks and drinks will be served, and this will obviously be an outside event. For more information, contact the temple office. We will also be having our annual TKA B'nai Israel Combined Veterans Day Shabbat on Saturday, November 13th. Please share with us all the names of your family members who have served or are currently serving our country so that we may honor them at that service. You can email names to the office. We are so happy that you joined us this evening. We welcome your interest, questions, and contributions to our little temple with a big voice. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shkoch to Sharon for sharing our announcements. They're getting shorter. It's enough to remember here. It's good. Shkoch to a surprise member, a guest member of our stream team here. Overlay function if you press it. The orange one. There you go. See, look how much she learned tonight. Sarah Kravitz has been helping us out on our stream team, and we're delighted that she's been able to bring our service to all of you who are joining us online. Shkoch, strength, wish to all of you who made tonight's service so special, both in person and online, and to all of our temple leaders and staff who have helped to help us be here, I suppose. Let's continue with our Hamotzi. I almost forgot Hamotzi. Are you going to pull double duty? Okay. The Gutmann girls are back up here, Daria and Sephora, to help us with the blessing over Challah. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. It's a yummy looking challah there. B'tei avon.
No, it's not yummy, it's delicious.
It's delicious.
Even though I haven't tried it yet.
Our closing song tonight, words of Nachman of Bratslav, words of comfort, words that encourage us to continue to be seekers of peace. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od. The whole world is a narrow bridge. V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. But the main principle is not to be afraid. Gesher tsar me'od in our prayer books, page 339. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar me'od. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar me'od, gesher tsar. Shabbat Shalom.